Thanks for coming to our session about Operations Dashboard, an introduction. For some of you, it might be a reintroduction, and for some of you, it might be a true, this is new stuff. Would people mind putting their hands up? Are you brand new to Operations Dashboard? Never seen it? Okay, that's quite a bit. That's what we saw yesterday, too. And then just, even though I know it's just the rest of you, could the rest of you put your hands up if you've used it before and you're just looking to refresh some of your skills? Cool. Excellent. One of the other things that we like to do to get these sessions started is, well, first of all, we should probably introduce ourselves. So I'm Pat, and I'm here presenting with my colleagues Chris and Dave. We're product engineers on the development team in Redlands and Ottawa, respectively. One other thing we like to do is just get a sense of who you are, and you sort of give us a sense of what industries that you're coming from. Operations Dashboard is a product that's used across the platform in many industries. So state or local government, utilities like electric and gas, water. Excellent. Emergency management, public safety. Cool. Defense. Excellent. Other? Shout it out. What?
Consultancy.
Yeah? Okay. Cool. Excellent. Well, thanks for coming. So Operations Dashboard is a product that's been part of the ArcGIS suite for a little bit of time now. And it's a free Windows and browser-based application that you can use on your desktop or on your tablet device. It is typically used to monitor assets, events, or activities. And it facilitates what we call or classify as at-a-glance decision-making. Sort of like the dashboard in your car. When you look at it, you glance at it, you figure out all the information it's telling you, and then you make a decision, and then you move on. And that's the goal of what Operations Dashboard is for. Provides key insights about your data on a single screen, and it well supports real-time data in a couple of different ways, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. The product features a cross-platform extensibility story as well. So what do you get in the box? So when you get Operations Dashboard, it comes with a series of ready-to-use data visualizations. So some of the more popular ones are listed here, such as maps, charts of various sorts, indicators and gauges to monitor performance, lists, details. And gluing them all together is a set of what we call map tools and feature actions. And so by configuring these in a variety of different ways, you can create an interactive and immersive experience for your intended end user. And so that's what the idea here is that, yes, we have all these individual components, but as the author of an operation view or a dashboard, you can configure it in all sorts of different ways in order to tell the story of your data. Probably one of the single defining characteristics of the ArcGIS platform is its ability to bring data together from a variety of different sources. So this is just one view of that, one take on it. And what we're trying to come across here is that the data that feeds into the ArcGIS system, you can sort of think of it falling into different camps. And I know that if we dig into the details, we could probably pull out hundreds of different nuances here. But overall, this is the type of data that we see that is being leveraged in Operations Dashboard. So, like we said in one of the first slides, is we have a product that is capable of consuming data in real time, and there's two different ways in which we talk about that. So we talk about real time sometimes in the sort of the IoT sense of the word, in the sensor data coming into the system, being processed with something like Geo Event Server, and being made available through your platform through services. The other way that we talk about real-time data is sort of in the sense of coordinating your work across your organization. So we have lots of customers that use the Esri field apps, for example, Collector for ArcGIS or Workforce for ArcGIS. Doing their work out in the field, that information is relayed back to their ArcGIS organization and displayed on a dashboard in real time, or near real time. There's lots of other data that you can imagine with your ArcGIS organization. Each and every one of you have your own organizational data, but the ArcGIS platform comes with a lot of ready-to-use content and services as well. So in some of our demos, we're going to bring in some of the data from the Living Atlas, and that's just part of your ArcGIS organization. And then overall, sort of at the top of this diagram, you see a dashboard, and it's the dashboard's ability to bring that data together and present it in intuitive and compelling ways so that decisions can be made. So Operations Dashboard is supported in both ArcGIS Online and in Portal for ArcGIS. When it is running in Windows, it features a click once deployment. You have to go to one of Esri's product pages, the one for Operations Dashboard, and you have to download a click once deployment. And the Windows version of the product allows you to both author and view what we refer to as an operation view. An operation view is simply an item in your ArcGIS content. When authoring on the Windows platform, you can create what we refer to as both single or multiple display views. And again, we'll show that in some of our demos. In order to use the Windows application, you're required to have a named user account. And then the nuance of that is that if you want to use the Windows application to author operation views, you need to have a level 2. When Operations Dashboard is running in the browser, it supports what we refer to as a single display view. And that application supports anonymous access. So you can make your operation views available publicly or to your organization. We see a few different key usage patterns when it comes to Operations Dashboard, and this ties into my asking, what industries are you from? So we see Operations Dashboard used to monitor operations in real time, and again, we can link back to the IoT sense of that definition, or the coordination of work definition. We see Operations Dashboard used a lot for event management. And event management can mean both planned and unplanned events. So a planned event, we have a really good success story on Arc News of GeoEvent being used alongside dashboards for things like the Boston Marathon and those types of things. But we can also, with unplanned events like natural disasters and so on and so forth. And the dashboard is presented on the big screens, and so that the decision makers can make the decisions they need to do. The last key usage pattern we see with Operations Dashboard is just its ability to provide a common understanding of people. By presenting the data from your ArcGIS organization to an audience, but in a standardized and common way, better decisions can be made overall. I wanted to take a brief time out to give a little bit of a shout out to our colleagues on the solutions teams. They do a tremendous amount of work with Operations Dashboard, and on their solutions gallery, they've made, for lack of a better word, template operation views available for people to use and to get ideas. They come with data, they come with data models, they come with, the example operation views. So if you are in fact new to Operations Dashboard, this is an excellent place to go and get your creative juices flowing. With that, I'm going to lead and introduce Chris here, and we're going to do a demo of authoring and configuring operation views.
Thanks, Pat. Oh, let me turn on. Thanks, Pat. Hello?
Check. Okay. Let me switch over, and I want to do a quick poll here, just because we have a lot of different people from different areas. How many people are ArcGIS Online users? Quite a few. And then how many are our portal customers? It's about half and half, maybe a little bit. Some people have both. The great thing about Operations Dashboard is that we support both areas. So the demo that I'm going to give today is based on ArcGIS Online, but the same instance can be thought of in your portal. And I'll kind of show that. So if you're new to ArcGIS, or new to Operations Dashboard, you might say, where can I get it? So one of the first places you might look is just arcgis.com, and you can just do a quick search here for Operations Dashboard. And the first result that comes back here is that download that Pat was talking about. So you can go in here, and it's basically just an application item in ArcGIS, and you can just download it and kind of get started right there. So I'm not going to go through the installation process. You don't need to watch that, but so I've already downloaded it here, and I want to show you quickly kind of a dashboard that's already been created in a scenario that you might be working, in this case for the City of Toronto or for the GIS department, or a place where maybe the chief of police wants to know what's going on with various events going on in the city, tracking police forces or incidents that are happening, and that kind of thing. So what you see here, we can start kind of focusing on the map, is that you see these police cars moving around, and we can interact with these maps in here. So if I take my bookmarks and I zoom into our waterfront, we can see these cars moving in real time. One of the advantages that Operations Dashboard allows you to use is GeoEvent server to be able to power some of these events that are coming in. And they could be coming from, in this case, from our police cars where we have sensors or gauges or different things that might be hooked up and using GeoEvent, and we can show these coming in real time. You might want to also monitor activities, or you might have people out in the field collecting data, maybe using Collector for ArcGIS, or some of our other field apps that can tie in directly with dashboards so that you can monitor these events and monitor crews and monitor different events that are happening and see the results in real time. So some of the quick kind of layout view here, we've got some different what we call widgets or visualizations going on. In the upper left, we have just a quick summary of the incidents that are happening. One of the other neat things about Operations Dashboard is that we can tie events or tie things to the map extent or to different visualizations of where we're at. So if we move out, some of our, the pie chart and the summary will update based on the number of events. But if we go back, again, things update in real time, and we see that happen. So again, these are quick widgets that we can make decisions based on what we have configured in the dashboard. So the pie chart allows that as well. We're just breaking down the different types of incidents. We also have a list of things that might have been happening. So we have different accidents or different things that are coming in from our live feeds. On the bottom, we have just a vehicle status tracking. So I've selected one of these guys, and as the different sensors on the vehicle, so for instance, we're looking to see if he's available, his status might change, or the gas level, we can see all that. We can monitor speed maybe. So all these different things are coming in GeoEvent. We can filter them and use them in Operations Dashboard. On the right-hand side, we have a couple different things happening. There's a level of interactivity that happens with Operations Dashboard. And so what we have, and you can see on the right and the lower right-hand side, is our camera feed. So there's different camera feeds that we might have from the city that are coming from different monitoring stations. And these are just static kind of JPEG images that are coming in, but they're updated every 2 or 3 minutes. And so in order to find those, we have a query set up in this upper part where we could browse for the camera number, or if we know the street name, we can just do a quick, you can enter that in. And the result, based on this query, powers this other widget. So you can use the data that's coming in from your map or from external data sources to power all these widgets, and widgets can power each other. So how do we get there? How do we do this? Let's take a look at one of the most important aspects, or I think is the most important, is your web map. So the web maps that we use in Operations Dashboard come from your organization, whether it be ArcGIS Online or through Portal. So we want to go in and kind of configure all of our data that we want to use in here. And I'll just kind of show you how we make all these things come to life. So for instance, this police force that we have, like I said, we're tracking this feature service based on the GeoEvent, and we have it updating. And the way that you do that through ArcGIS Online is you go into this refresh interval. Now I know that my GeoEvent is being updated every 6 seconds, which equates to 0.1 minutes. So I've synced that up with my web map to go out and look for the newest data that's being out there. So you could do it every 30 seconds, a minute, however often you need to have that update. Same thing with my road incidents here. I might have a ground crew out there updating these, and so I've also set my refresh interval to every 5 minutes here. Some of the other things that we have in here, we've got this World Traffic Service, and you can see the green and red lines here. So this is what Pat talked about when we were talking about the living atlas layers that are in ArcGIS Online, that are part of your organization that Esri gives as part of your subscription service. So there's a lot of different ones out there that you can take advantage of, and that's what we're just doing here that Esri provides. So once we have that, let's go in and maybe start building this out. So I've kind of pre-done a little bit here, but I want to show you maybe the most important thing of bringing in your map as its own widget. And I've only got one map in here, but keep in mind that Operations Dashboard supports multiple maps in here. So I could bring in, this map, I could have an imagery map, I could have, different maps available. And like I said with the interactivity, you can tie these maps together. So if you move one map one way, it can power the other one, it can zoom to the same extent that you were just at. So when we go in and add these, this is our suite of default widgets that come with this. And there's quite a few here to get you started. So when we go in and look for our map, browses to our content, and quickly select that. And it's going to look for the data sources that are coming in the map. Now, as you saw in the web map, our police force and our road incidents are being updated. And the way the Operations Dashboard relays that is we see that these are coming in dynamic and updating every 6 seconds. Same thing with road incidents, there's no update there. So in order to power these data sources in your map, we want to have them selected so that we can use them as the data sources for our widgets. But we also want to take a look at the police force, because we powered those others, the police force widgets, by making them selectable. So we want to check that box on right there. On the road incidents, you saw when we zoomed in, we had an update based on the map extent. In order to do that, I did that quickly, but in order to do that, we just set up a quick filter right over here. We click Add, and you don't have to do much. You just select this box here that limits the results to the current map extent. So we can check that on. It creates a quick filter for us that we can use. And then I also want to use my traffic cameras over here to power these. So I've already done that with the map here, and that's already set up. Some of the other things that you might be able to quickly configure are called map tools. And the map tools are set up right on the map here, and there's a little configure icon. You can go in here and kind of interact with your map a little bit more. I've got the bookmarks on, I've got base maps. You might want to add, the search tool, some ability to add filters, or maybe you want to be able to select different things in the map. That's all within the map tools here. So let's kind of get started building these out. So the first widget that I want to add is that summary widget. And I'm going to change my data source here to be that current extent that we set. So this is going to be our number of incidents coming in. And again, we're just doing a quick count on this. We have a little bit of flexibility on the appearance, so I can just change the color of the text to make it a little bit nicer. And then just give a little trailing text so we know what we're talking about. Okay, so we have our incidents. And what I'm showing is our multi-display operation view. This operation view allows for you to have floating widgets. And this is what you might see commonly, on a big board where they have a, multiple monitor situation. So we can either, leave these floating or we can dock them. So I'll just move this over here. And then we'll do another widget with a pie chart. And again, we're just looking at the number of incidents. And again, these are just kind of a quick snapshot of what's going on to be able to make informed decisions. And for the pie chart, I'm going to use that same filter that we set up so that it updates. And then I also want the feature count. pie chart you can use, you can set up labels with. There's various different color ramps here that you can select and kind of go from there. So that, again, we're going to dock him over here. The next one that we saw there was the list. So we'll go in our list of widgets and add that list. And for the list, I want to do it based on, again, that filter. And what I want to look at here is we have a little bit of flexibility as far as what we can put in here. So I've got this set up where I want to use, oh, don't want that. I've already got some information I want to put in here. So I want to change the title, and I'm going to use my field picker here. So these are all the fields coming from my data. So I want the description as my title. And then in this, underneath there, I want to put a custom description. I just grabbed that HTML text. But again, you have the field picker here. You can go in and customize some of this stuff. So I'm just going to add that in. And again, there's our list. We can just dock him right here. The next thing that you saw was our bar chart. And the bar chart is kind of a powerful widget because you can do a horizontal or vertical bar chart here. And we want to look at that selected police vehicles that we were looking at. So we kind of want the status of what's going on. So we're going to call this vehicle status. Because we want to know who's available and who's not, kind of based on their sensors that are coming in. So I want to take a look at these counts as bars. And the value field is going to be that status that we were talking about. And I want to be able to change it to show labels, but also use my color ramp. Let's see why that didn't work. Maybe we'll just look at who's available here. So these are the different cars that we have running. And we're just going to basically take a look at their frequency or maybe their status here. So there we go. We got one active and two available. And again, this will update. So we'll move this guy right down here. And you can see that I'm kind of moving these around a little bit. So you have a little bit of flexibility that comes in here. These are all dockable and kind of can be placed wherever you want. So one of the things that you might want to do with this is to share it out. Because right now we're tied to the desktop, right? So we can't really do much besides look at this on a big wall. But what if I want to share this out to the public? Or what if I want to get this information out to people in my organization? But I don't want them to have to download this. Because this is a downloaded application, they'd have to put it on their desktop. The way that I can do that is what when Pat referred to, is called a single view operation, or operation view single mode. So you can quickly do that without having to go back and reconfigure everything. Quickly in the back office menu here, you can do a quick save as. And right now we're a multi-display device target, but we can quickly just switch over to this single display, and it's going to save a different name for us in our organization. So it's going to save a new item type with this single view. And what happens, because we're going to be in a browser, it doesn't really know how to put those widgets into place. And so it kind of puts everything on the left-hand side. So we have the same information, but everything's scrollable here. And we have the same interactivity that we did with the previous multi-display. So now that I've got that set ready for my browser, I want to share that out. So again, we go back and we go to the share option here. And I want to give you a quick little tour here. So this is where you can set your sharing to be. So by default, it's not shared to anything. So if you want to go in and share it to a group, you have that option here. You can also share it out to your organization, or you can share it out to everyone publicly. Now, if you share it out to, if it's not shared out to anyone besides your organization, when you check this on, it's going to look at your referenced items in here. So we know that some of these items are shared to the organization or shared to public. In the case that you do want to share it out to everyone and you want to make it public, in order for them to see it without having to sign in, you'll need to make all your data sources and your web map public. So just keep that in mind. So you may want to have a copy somewhere else that, set up for that public sharing. And then once it's ready, you can just hit update sharing, and it's going to go through and update all of those sharing policies for those different item types. So once that's done, the next thing here is set up for our link. And this link will open the operation view in a browser. So this is where you can share this and share it to your organization or share it out publicly. But this is just the browser link. So when we paste this in, it's going to look in, and we're going to see that same single view operation or single display operation view that we set up before. And again, we have the same interactivity here, we have the same lists, all the same widgets that we just configured. And that's my demo.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Chris. You send it back to me. Cool. So what Chris demonstrated is the state of the now. That's the software that's currently released, available for download, as Chris showed. But we're evolving. Operations Dashboard's been around for a little while, and we've been presented with an opportunity to give it a major facelift. And so that's what the second half of our presentation is going to be about today. So in order to meet the needs of our customers and respond to the requests for new functionality and new capabilities, we took a step back at the beginning of the project and established a core philosophy for what we're trying to accomplish with an operations style dashboard. And I won't read this quote from Stephen Few. And for those of you who don't know him, he's a very well-respected person in the information display community. He's written a number of books. One of the ones that I've often referred to is called Information Dashboard Design. And he talks about things like how a good dashboard does facilitate things like at-a-glance decision-making. But as part of his core philosophy, and in the context of what we would consider to be an operations dashboard that is going to be constantly monitored and decisions are going to constantly be being made in real time, is he talks about the importance of each individual visual element packing as much information as possible, but doing it in an intuitive way. So one of the things that we've done as part of reimagining a lot of the pieces of what Operations Dashboard is that we've taken it to heart that every one of the visualizations that we provide to you needs to be able to pack a tremendous punch in terms of the information it can convey. So what you'll see in terms of over the course of Dave's presentation is, we allow the dashboard authors to become, designers in themselves. We provide excellent defaults, but we provide a tremendous amount of control over the information products that you create and share with your organization. So the way that we're bringing all of these new ideas to life is through a new item type in your ArcGIS organization. So what Chris demonstrated is the creation and consumption of what's known as an operation view. But as part of your ArcGIS organization now, there is a new item type called dashboard. And just so you know, they've actually been part of your ArcGIS organization since March. We put the plumbing in for them in March, so everybody has them. What Dave is about to show you in the course of his demo is our beta refresh that we're working on, and that beta refresh should be available to you in the next couple to a few weeks. So just keep that in mind today. Dashboard items are part of your ArcGIS organization, but some of the functionality that you're going to see today is not part of it quite yet. You're welcome to come see it at the island, and we're going to demonstrate it for you here today. So again, we're going to bring the new features and functions that our customers have asked for to life through these new dashboard items. They're intended to serve the same purpose of operation views, but obviously the implementation details behind the scenes are vastly different. We will acknowledge that there will be differences between operation views and dashboards when we first release this. We're confident, and we have every confidence, that the information products that you will be able to create meet or exceed the quality of the products you've created with your operation views. We've done a tremendous amount of work of getting the aesthetic right and getting the functionality nailed down. Just so everybody's clear, operation views are and will continue to be supported in the platform for years to come. But like anything, with limited resources, we are putting a majority of our future focus into dashboards. The workflow for creating dashboards is similar to operation views. You create your web map, you author your dashboard, and you share it with your organization. But I'm not going to go into, and it's part of your ArcGIS organization. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in terms of features and functions because I think it's just much more compelling to just show it. So Dave, do you want to show them some of this new stuff?
Yep.
All right.
Well, I have the privilege to show you some of the exciting new features. As Pat mentioned, it's integrated with ArcGIS Online, and I would say one of the biggest features is that there's no download. You can author dashboards in the web browser, share them out. Your viewers can view them without any download or anything. If you've signed into ArcGIS Online in the last few weeks, you'll have noticed some major changes or an update to this page. Here I have dashboards, web maps, operation views. You can manage your dashboards in ArcGIS Online. And in the future, you'll be able to create a dashboard right from this menu. From the item details page, you can view a dashboard or edit it, as well as share it. In the app switcher, there is a link to Operations Dashboard. This is how, for the time being, you'll be able to create dashboards. And if you go there today, you'll go to a page that looks like this, but it won't have this Create Dashboard button. You'll have to wait until later this month. But on this homepage, you can manage your dashboards, see dashboards that have been shared with you, as well as create a dashboard. The next thing I want to discuss is that dashboards support all the latest and greatest technology with web maps. As you've probably seen in the plenary, there's just a tremendous amount of things that you can put into your web maps, and we support them all. Vector tile base maps, heat maps, proportional symbols, labels, stream layers, and even arcade. You can also have multiple maps in your dashboard. So let's take a look at a dashboard I put together. This is showing Philadelphia crime, and on the right I have a list showing a feed of crime coming in. It looks like there was a larceny just a few minutes ago, and on the left I'm showing the crime count by type of crime for the last 28 days. And if you look closely, you may notice that the colors of the bars are in line with the colors of the symbols on the map. Very powerful, and we're excited to bring that to you. One more thing on the right side is a list. So I have a list showing street cameras to keep an eye on what's happening down on the streets. My web map is showing crimes, and I've used Arcade to highlight or make crimes within the last 3 hours larger than older crimes. I also have a heat map, and I have calls for service or 911 calls. And I'm using Arcade to label calls that are on hold with an excessive wait time. So it looks like this one has been holding for over a minute. And I'm using a vector tile base map. So let's talk about the layout. Dashboards offer a layout that blends capabilities of operation views and gives you even extra capabilities. We'll hop over to a dashboard that's monitoring field operations for power and lighting pole surveys. On our map, we have a whole bunch of dots that represent poles that are in need of surveys or have had surveys done. And on the right, we have a bar chart showing the surveys by status, the number of total surveys needing to be performed, and some summaries on violations that have been found, safety violations. On the left, we also have some more information about the safety violations broken down by status and severity. Again, I've made these bars correlate to these symbol colors for these symbols with the little V. And I have a list showing actions required. This is actually a really great dashboard as is. And if everything that you see here is valuable, then we're done. But maybe the list isn't really that valuable, and we would prefer to have some more map showing. So to do that, we can stack this list underneath the chart and free up some more space. We can also enhance this further by bringing this chart into the same tab by grouping it. So now we have kind of a panel of two charts and a list. Let's talk about new filtering capabilities that we've added. We've added some date filtering capabilities to better support real-time operations. Back in our Philadelphia crime dashboard, let's look at what would be good information to know more than what you see here. So it would be helpful to know, how many recent crimes there have been. Just, a simple crime count, let's say, for the last 7 days. For presentation purposes, I'll switch to light theme with a simple click of a button so that you can see things a little bit better. So let's add what's called an indicator. And we want to show the number of crimes within the last 7 days. So we're going to create a filter based on our date, dispatch date time stamp. And it looks like there's 70 today. I could also do yesterday or last week. But let's do within the last 7 days. Great. We can add some text in here. And add it to our layout. And if this is really important, you can make the numbers very large, and so it's very readable. But we'll balance it out a little bit, move it up here. All right, let's talk about data visualization capabilities now. We've added some new capabilities, and we're pretty excited to show you. Indicators can now offer full format customization, allowing you to draw attention to a situation at a glance. Let's say it would be nice to draw attention to whether there's any homicides. We can do that through an indicator, and we'll do, right now it's doing a count on the number of crimes, and we'll filter to only show the number of homicides. And let's say we only want to know within the last 24 hours. Looks like there's 2. Now, we want to format this a little bit differently depending on whether there is no homicides or there's 1 or more homicides. So we'll add what's called a reference. Now I get 2 previews. The style when there is 1 or more homicides, we'll make the reference equal to 1, and what that means is now we have a style for when there's 1 or more homicides and a style when there is 0 homicides. And we'll style them differently now. We can also add an icon and color it to really draw your attention to it. If there's no homicides, I can simply display this text. There we are. Indicators can also be used to show how a current measurement or value compares to a historic measurement or value. So our indicator here showing the crimes within the last 7 days, it would be nice to be able to compare this to the previous 7 days. Are crimes on the rise, or are they decreasing? So let's reconfigure this. And we'll add a reference, just like before, but this time we're going to base it off of a statistic. And that's going to be the number of crimes within the last 14 days and before the last 7 days. So as you can see, these are great for real time because it's always relative to right now. And it will continue updating every time you look at it. So now let's add in some text to take advantage of the reference we've just created. So we'll show the absolute difference and put in some text to explain. And it looks like crimes are trending upward. There's 309 more crimes within the last 7 days than the previous 7 days. I see some wheels spinning. I think you might have some ideas for how to use this, and that's great. So bar charts can also be used in a similar way to compare a measurement or value to a historic measurement or value through multiple series. I'll hop over to a California reservoir dashboard showing the conditions of the reservoirs. For those in the back, I'll switch to a different base map. All these reservoirs are green, and green means good. And that is thanks to all the rain and snow we got this last year in California. For those of you not from California, water is a big deal, and this past year was a big deal. And so on the left side, I'm showing the current storage in the largest 10 reservoirs. But it would be nice to be able to compare this to what the previous year storage level was. So let's add a second series. And we can configure the color to be a little bit better. We can play with, I'll make this a little bit bigger. We can play with a lot of settings to give it the look and feel that we want. And we could even play around with combinations of lines and bars, but we'll leave it as bars for now. Also, look at our value axis. We have numbers in the millions. So we can simply add some better formatting through metric prefixes and clean it up a bit. And now we can clearly see that in most cases the value, or sorry, the level has increased considerably over the last year. Let's also add a legend so you can see that. There we go. Bar charts can also categorize, bar chart categories can also be split by a facet of your data to show details of their composition. Let's hop over to the crime dashboard and take a look at what this means. Let's say it would be interesting to know how many crimes there are per police division. On our map, we have these shapes here representing different police divisions. So now we see the number of crimes per police division. But perhaps it would be nice to be able to see the composition of these crimes by the type. So we can split each category by the crime type and now see it as multiple series. And we can stack them. Now we have the same information as before, but we have some information on the composition of these crimes. Now, maybe since some of the police divisions are considerably smaller than others, it would be helpful to know the percentage. So we can stack these 100%, and now it treats them all equally as far as just showing the percentage breakdown of crimes by type. We can also play with the colors to see if we can get better colors. We can customize our colors if we want. Again, we can play with the aesthetic. And then place it in our layout. All right, so I gave you a little glimpse of line charts already, but let's make a line chart. We can visualize time series data in a line chart. Perhaps it would be nice to know how crimes are trending over the last 28 days, the number of crimes per day. For right now, it starts out as a bar chart, and we can quickly turn it into a line chart. But perhaps because we're measuring a quantity, it's more appropriate to show it as an area chart. Now, the category axis down here is all garbled because it doesn't yet know that we want to, that we're dealing with dates. So let's turn on date parsing. And it looks much, much better. And the charting library is actually very smart in terms of displaying dates. We can even turn on scrolling. And the horizontal axis updates as you zoom in. We can also play around with bullets or points. And again, with composition of this data, we could split it by division. And stack it.
The ability to put it in a trend line on that data?
The question was, is there ability to put a trend line on the data? Not currently. So that summarizes the enhancements to visualizations. But we want to show you a sneak peek of what's coming later this year. And that's a new concept called interactivity, or we're calling it interactivity, that allowed you to define exactly how a dashboard viewer can interact with visual elements to filter data and to highlight features on other visual elements. This is a dashboard similar to what we just created, and it has an additional list up here of divisions. I've wired this up such that when I click a division, it selects it on the map, and it also applies a spatial filter on my crimes on the layer in the map as well as on all visual elements. So now I can see there's been 182 crimes in the last 7 days within the Central Police Division. There's been 389 in the East Police Division. And I can take a look at the other ones too. I can also click on my list here to pan to different crimes. And I could do that with my cameras as well. So there's a lot of new features, and we're excited for you to try them out and give us feedback. We have a beta community that we would love for you to join and give us feedback through. I also want to give a shout out to our team who's worked tremendously hard to build this app that we're excited to give to you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Pat.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. So things are different. We're evolving. This stuff is coming to you in beta form in the next couple of weeks, like we said. This is just a laundry list of the things that Dave showed you. So for your reference, if people want to take a picture of it, or if you want to get the slides at a later date. The caveat is the thing on the bottom, Dave highlighted a little bit, which is our improved interactivity framework. That's not going to be part of the beta, but everything else that he showed is. We always want to show both our dark and our light theme. I always like to see who likes what. So who likes the dark theme better? Light theme? Winner dark theme today. Yesterday it was pretty close, and today it's complete. It's all about the dark theme today. What's that? No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which one hurts your eyes more? Yeah. Now we're going into beta. The focus of our beta that like we said, was to create, good-looking dashboards. That was the theme of our milestone, which we're about to complete. The focus of our next milestone is getting the interactivity stuff dialed in. So we've put some of the plumbing in, and you can see what Dave was able to do with a little bit of sort of tweaking using tools that haven't been exposed yet. But we have a lot more planned with interactivity. So in addition to using the visualizations that you've seen today to trigger interactivity, we're also planning to introduce a new visual element, or different types of visual elements to your dashboard. We're currently calling them selectors just because we haven't come up with a better word for them yet. But that's things like drop downs and lists and radio buttons and date pickers and number sliders. And to have them participate in the interactive experience as well. So, I can select a radio button, and the chosen value, it can trigger the interactivity, and it can do other things. So like I said earlier, we're really going for the dashboard author having the ability not only to create a really stunning looking dashboard, but should they choose to, they can create a highly immersive dashboard as well. We have a question up here real quick.
I have a question on formulas. Is there any plan to add, for example, if we're dealing with miles of pipe, we have the shape lengths. Is there any way to use this shape length, which is in feet, and then within an expression convert that to miles, and in your dashboard you would show mileage, or acreage versus square footage, things like that. That's been our struggle.
For sure. So the question is just for the benefit of the recording, has to do with the values that we display on the dashboard, whether or not we can apply a formula to them before we display them. The answer is it's definitely on our roadmap. We have limited ability to do light formulas, pre-canned formulas on some of our things like Dave showed in terms of percentages and differences. But I would say that that's not necessarily one of our de facto goals for our initial rollout, but we absolutely want to do it. We recognize the value in that, and it's just not in the top of the list right now. So like I said, before we release this thing, we're going to do a lot of work on our interactivity. We're going to add new UI components. I'll open it up for questions in just a little bit, guys. For sure, we'll have lots of time for questions. And I do want to revisit that trend line question as well, just get a little bit more knowledge of what you're asking for there. We're going to do a little bit of refining on the authoring experience. We didn't really talk about our map tools, but we're going to have more and more refined map tools by the time we release. And we're going to add other visualizations. You didn't see a gauge today. We're going to put that in, obviously. You didn't see a pie chart today. We're obviously going to put that in. We've actually got pie chart this close to being done, and there's a very good chance that we're going to have both of those in beta. We just don't have them today here at the conference. Or we do have pie chart here at the conference, don't we?
Yep.
Okay, just not in the demo. Here's our timeline. And so we released the dashboard item in March. We're doing our beta refresh, hopefully by the end of the month. Things are looking good so far. That'll be part of ArcGIS Online only. We're looking to go into code freeze in the September timeframe so that we can release with the November release of the ArcGIS Online platform. Now, Operations Dashboard is cross-platform. We will support Portal for ArcGIS. And so immediately after we do our, quote, final release with ArcGIS Online, we can immediately follow that up with adding support for Portal. That's just the way that the web apps are built, and that's just the way that they get released internally. That's the sequence of events. This is us at the conference. Please do come visit us at the product island. These are our workshops. We're sort of about halfway through this list now. We do have some demo theaters as well. Definitely, if you have the time, also check out the various solution islands. They're showcasing Operations Dashboard significantly at those islands, so check those out as well. These are some useful links. Should you want to get the Windows app, if you are interested in joining our beta program, if you want to have a conversation with either us or your community, these are some useful links. I'll pause here for a minute. A lot of people yesterday wanted to take a picture of this, so I'll just wait for a couple more seconds. You want to get up and photobomb it?
I'll stand in front of it so you can get a picture of me.
Okay, cool. We'll put that back up if people want to see it. As always, please fill out your surveys. That's the only way we get feedback, so please do that. And with that, I will open it up for questions. So there was definitely one over here. You were here first, but we're going to get to all of them. So
after the beta comes out that's fully integrated into ArcGIS Online, you'll be able to add it as part of the story map or internal.
So the question is when we've released fully, can you drop your dashboard into a story map? Sure, it's web content. One of the things that people are going to want to do, though, is they're probably going to want to get some level of interaction between the story map and the dashboard. For example, you have selected something in the story map and you wanted to trigger some sequence of interactivity in the dashboard. That's on our radar. I don't know how far down that path we can get in our initial rollout, but it's definitely something that people have asked for. And so you can expect to see something along those lines at some point. I just can't say for when exactly right now. There was a question in here, yeah?
I was curious about Pareto charts and control charts, where you can show an average, standard deviations above and below the average, or a Pareto chart showing your percentage towards the total.
So that's the wonderful thing about charting is that there's about 17 names for everything. But I think I understand your question, is that you're probably wanting to show some sort of a count or some sort of statistic along your category axis, and then you want to show like a rolling average over top of it or something like that, or?
Well, more specifically, when you're looking at crime, you might have an average of larcenies over a period of 28 days.
Right.
And that may be your average. Where you're at today may be 1 or 2 standard deviations above or below that
Right.
average, and you may want to identify that as an alert or something visually to cue you, hey, in this area, I need to do something different.
Okay, cool. So there's no way I'm going to be able to repeat all that back for the benefit of the recording, but just to fill you in on some of our thoughts around those concepts. And so you've seen things with Dave's presentation and how we can set reference values on indicators and whatnot. We want to bring those ideas to our other visualizations like the charts as well. So, if you wanted to call those trend lines or whatever, you could attach those trend lines. They could be calculated. They could be calculated, or they could be a hard-coded number. Who knows? He also showed you the ability to have conditional formatting, such that when a value surpassed a certain thing, we change the look and the feel of the indicator. That also is something that we do want to eventually bring into our more sort of traditional Cartesian type charts. I'm not sure we're going to get all. I think we probably get the reference lines by the November timeframe, but the conditional formatting one might be a bridge too far for our November timeline. But it's definitely on our radar. We want to do all these types of things for sure. There's another question here.
Yeah. Is there a way to port your existing dashboard over to the new, if I've created a dashboard through the Windows tool, can I just open it up and edit it or start messing with it?
So the question is whether or not you can convert an operation view into a dashboard item. And the answer is, in 2 weeks, the answer will be no. If you were to try to do it today, the answer would be yes. And I'll tell you the reason why. Is as we were putting the plumbing in place for the last year or so of re-architecting this thing from scratch, we wanted to have something that we could demonstrate and that was useful to people so that we could get the layout right and people could help provide feedback with that. The internal details of how an operation view, though, is constructed versus a dashboard is very different. In order to bring you these advances in charting that we're showing you today, it's a completely different charting library. And so as we were continuing to add more and more functionality to dashboards, we were able to convert less and less of the functionalities of the operation views into the dashboards to the point where it became more work to convert it into a dashboard and then tweak it to make it look like you wanted to do than it was just to create it from scratch. And when we reached that tipping point, we decided as a team that we were spending a tremendous amount of time trying to preserve these things that were just becoming less and less relevant to the aesthetic that we were looking for. So when we release beta in 2 weeks, we've disabled the ability to do that conversion.
The other thing you may notice is that the indicator that he was showing is kind of a merge between the indicator and the summary widgets that we had in operation views. So it gives you a lot more powerful activity that you can do in a single visualization in the new dashboard versus what you could do in separate things in the old operation view.
That's a good point. There was a question out back and another one over here. So.
In your chart, is there any way that you can add like a second y-axis?
So can we have, so the y-axis on the charts that we showed would be the value axis. So the charting library that we're leveraging actually does support having multiple axes in either the category axis or the value axes. We don't have a tremendous amount of use cases that have been presented to us for that yet, so we hadn't put it on our radar per se. But if you have some use cases, definitely come up and tell the guys here what you got, and we can look at that. It definitely won't be in our November timeline, but there's no saying that we couldn't eventually support something like that.
I'll try and word this cleverly. If we're just going to crack this for the first time and get into it, is there any reason why we would want to go and start looking at operational views versus just going with the new dashboard item?
So the question is whether or not there's any value in considering operation views when dashboards are going to be available quite soon. Yes, there is. One of the things that we came clean on one of our slides is we said that we won't have complete functional equivalency between the two. So there's a couple of types of visualizations that we won't be supporting. One of them being our chat. And when I say we won't be supporting in our initial rollout. And so if, after having done your requirements analysis, you desperately need the chat, then that would be one consideration. Another consideration is that Operations Dashboard has a cross-platform extensibility story. And that cross-platform extensibility story is for operation views only right now. We will have a developer story for dashboards at some point in the future, but what that developer story looks like is still a little bit up in the air. We don't know if we're going to be doing an extensibility story similar to what we have in place now, or if we move to a more sort of a hardcore developer story, and hardcore is the wrong word, but a much more, the depth of things that you can do in a customization experience would be more robust. In terms of our extensibility story, where we were proxying objects back and forth between our customer's code and our operation view items, is there was limits on what we could expose. And we've had feedback that it would be better from a developer's perspective if you could actually get in and be part of the entire interactive experience kind of thing, hook into all of those events. And we wouldn't be able to do that through an extensibility story, but if we had a more robust developer offering similar to something maybe like a web app builder or something like that, There might be value in that. So and that's actually a good point. If people do have developer requirements from this product, I would be really interested in talking to you, because we do have to figure out, which of the flavors of developer story we're going to roll out first. We might end up with more than one, right? So, question here, then here.
When it comes to public sharing, because this will be something that we're really interested in sharing to the public. When it comes to the window formatting on the browser end of it, is there going to be a way to reorganize the windows so it would look a little bit more like it would on the actual ArcGIS Online version? Instead of the one that he showed, you kind of had to scroll on this side, and then you only had one view over here. Is there a way to reorganize those windows?
So the question is, I think you're talking about the operation views. Were you talking about the first demonstration or the second demonstration?
Yes, where everything's stacked, yes, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to answer that one, Chris?
Sure. So this is the operation view that we created from the desktop. The limitation of this is that all the widgets are stacked in there. There's no kind of way that we can move these around, because of the way that operation views work is to get them in the browsers. The only way that we can do this is to put them in that stack and then to cycle through them.
But this is from the desktop, so when you do it on the new version, what the public sees is what you were sharing previously on the second demo?
Yeah, in the new version, the desktop piece isn't involved at all. And so it's more what you see, what you get. As an author, you create the layout that you are interested in your end users seeing, and then when you share it, your end users see exactly that. There's no difference anymore. There was a question here?
Yeah, so in the new interactivity you guys are talking about, let's say a new homicide shows up. Do you have a way to set it so that it zooms to that automatically?
So the question is, if new features are added to one of your layers, will we be able to set it up so that it zooms or pans automatically? I think the short answer is yes. What we would imagine, I'm just sort of thinking this through in my head, and Dave, you put more thought into this than I have, so please help me out. But I suspect that we could probably have our crimes in some sort of a list. Our lists have the ability to have the top one automatically selected. And if the top one is automatically selected, if it's a homicide, for example, we are going to have events for the map, whether you want to change the extent or just pan to it, highlight it. In the case of things that are actually moving, homicides is not the best example, but if it's a ship or a vehicle of some sort and it was new, we could actually follow it as it's moving around. So those are the types of things that we're looking at doing for sure.
Yeah, this would be more for the static stuff. So
Yeah.
you can do the followers for something
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, I think that we'll be able to do what you need there. Was there any other questions? Okay, guys. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.